The first time Elena Vass saw Kairon bleed, she forgot how to breathe. It happened on the shattered plains of Orialis IX, where violet storms raked the desert and the ground hummed with old cosmic radiation. Elena, an exo-biologist assigned to the Hellion Frontier Corps, had been cataloging the odd crystalline flora that sprouted from the sand like glass roots. Kairon, her assigned escort, watched the horizon with that unnerving stillness he possessed. He was humanoid, but not human. Not exactly. Not anymore. He had been part of the Lumen Project, an ethically gray experiment to embed photonic symbiotes into human bloodstreams. Out of 97 subjects, 96 combusted into ash the moment the injection reached the heart. One survived. Kairon. He didn't speak much, but the air around him always felt slightly warmer. Sometimes, when he was lost in thought, his veins lit faintly beneath his skin, as though a hidden sunrise pulsed through him. Elena had never asked if it hurt. She suspected it did. They were walking back to the transport skiff when the ground buckled. A fissure split open beneath her boots. She tumbled into darkness. Her arm slammed against a jagged crystal, and she felt warm blood trickle down her wrist. "Elena!" Karen's voice echoed above her, raw with alarm. She looked up just in time to see him leap, effortlessly, recklessly, into the chasm after her. He landed badly. A shard of luminous quartz pierced his thigh, and something impossible spilled out. Light. Not white light, but molten gold, fluid and shimmering, like liquefied stars. It dripped from the wound, sizzling softly as it hit the cold cavern floor. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Elena had ever seen. "Kairon," she whispered, unable to look away. He clenched his jaw, grasped the shard, and pulled it out with a grunt. More golden luminescence spilled. His face blanched. "It's nothing," he said through his teeth. "We need to get you out." "Nothing? You're bleeding photons." He gave her a strained, crooked smile. "Only when I'm stressed." "That's not funny." "No," he admitted. "But if I don't pretend it is, I'll start panicking." She tried to stand, but pain streaked through her ankle. Kairon instantly knelt beside her, the light from his wound reflecting in his storm-gray eyes. "Hold on to me," he murmured. "I'll get us out." She looped her arm around his shoulders. He lifted her with ease. Too much ease. The symbiote enhanced his muscle fibers, his reflexes, his stamina. But it also burned him from the inside. His entire biology had been rewritten so violently that nothing about him was natural anymore. And yet, Elena thought as he carried her upward through the cavern shadows, he had jumped after her without a moment's hesitation. He was still human where it mattered. Above them, the sky roared with purple lightning. Below them, Karen's blood painted the rocks in molten gold. Elena tightened her grip around his neck, not because she needed balance, but because for the first time, she was afraid he might fall and not get back up. Middle. After the chasm incident, Elena convinced the outpost medic to let her monitor Karen's recovery herself. It wasn't protocol. She was a xenobiologist, not a physician, but Kairon didn't trust medics. And medics didn't trust him. Most saw him as a weapon wrapped in fragile flesh. Elena saw something else entirely. For 7 days, she analyzed his bioluminescent blood samples, trying to understand how the symbiote interacted with his damaged tissue. The more she studied him, the more questions she had. "Does the light hurt?" she asked one evening, watching the faint glow pulse beneath his bandages. Kairon hesitated. His voice, when he finally spoke, was barely above a whisper. "It's like being full of electricity. Constantly. Sometimes it's warm. Sometimes not. How do you sleep?" "Badly." She closed her datapad. "If you ever need sedatives or neurological dampeners, I can request." No, the word was sharp. Too sharp. Regret flashed in his eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Elena, they already treat me like I'm unstable. The last thing I need is chemical suppression on my record." She softened. "I only worry because you won't." He looked away, jaw tense. The light in his veins flared briefly, then dimmed. "I do worry," he murmured. "I just don't know how to stop being like this." Elena studied him quietly. His silhouette glowed faintly in the dim room, as though his body fought endlessly to contain the radiance inside. "You don't have to stop being anything," she said gently. "You survived something no one else did. You don't owe the world an apology for existing. Kairon blinked. Slowly, as if the words confused him. Elena, he said softly, why are you so kind to me? Because you're worth being kind to. He stared at her with an expression she couldn't decipher, wonder maybe. Fear. Both. I don't know what I'd do, he said quietly, if you stopped believing that. I won't. And she meant it. But belief wasn't enough to prevent what came next. The Hellion Frontier Corps wasn't the only faction interested in the Lumen Project. A renegade group called the Ashen Collective had been hunting Kairon for months, hoping to extract the photonic symbiote from his bloodstream to manufacture weapons of mass devastation. The attack came at dawn. Elena woke to the scream of sirens and the tremble of ground vehicles approaching from all directions. The skies above Orialis IX darkened as pirate skiffs descended, firing ion bursts at the outpost shields. Kairon was already at her door when she stumbled out of her quarters. You need to get to the secure bunker, he said, gripping her shoulders. And you, she demanded. His veins were already glowing brighter. Too bright. I'll stall them. By yourself. Elena. His voice softened. This is what I was designed for. No, she shook her head fiercely. You weren't designed. You survived. And you don't have to. The wall behind him exploded. The world became dust, fire, and noise. Elena was thrown backward. Her ears rang. Through the haze, she saw shadows, armored figures storming the corridor, weapons blazing. Kairon's blood erupted like wildfire. He moved with impossible speed, his body a streak of golden radiance. Every punch, every step, every strike lit the air as if constellations were exploding around him. The attackers screamed, overwhelmed not just by his strength, but by the sheer luminosity that poured from him. But every burst of light came with a cost. Elena saw it in the way his knees buckled, the way his breaths came ragged, the way his glowing veins burned too brightly, as though his body was starting to tear under the power. Kairon, she cried. One attacker aimed a pulse rifle at Elena. She didn't have time to move. Kairon did. He stepped between her and the rifle. The blast hit him square in the chest. He collapsed, golden radiance leaking from him in desperate flickers. No, 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 Elena whispered, catching him as he fell. He looked up at her, face pale, eyes dimming. Elena, he breathed. I can't hold it back anymore. The symbiote. It's trying to burn through me. He was right. His skin shimmered dangerously, thin, fragile, as if light might explode from him at any moment. She pressed her forehead to his. Stay with me. Stay here. You have to go, he rasped. If I lose control, I'm not leaving you. His hand trembled as it touched her cheek. Even through the pain, he tried to smile. You always say the most dangerous things. The attackers regrouped. More were coming. They would overwhelm them within minutes. Unless. Use it, she whispered. Kairon's breath hitched. Elena, you can channel the light outward. You've done it in bursts. You can do it again. You can protect the outpost. I might die. You might live. He stared at her, golden light swirling beneath his skin like a trapped sunrise. Elena, why do you care so much? Because I love you, she said. The words surprised even her, and yet they felt truer than anything she had ever spoken. For a moment, everything went still. Kairon's flickering veins steadied. The light inside him brightened, not violently, but warmly, like a flame being given oxygen instead of smothered. Elena, he whispered, voice trembling, your love, it's calming the symbiote. I can feel it listening, obeying. For the first time since the project began, the living light inside him wasn't trying to break free. It was trying to harmonize. Kairon, she said softly, you're not a weapon. You're a beacon. He closed his eyes, and the world ignited. Kairon rose to his feet, Elena's hand still bracing him. But this time he didn't stagger. He didn't tremble. He shone. Brilliantly. The attackers shielded their eyes too late. A wave of golden radiance exploded outward, not like a bomb, but like a sunrise washing over the land. Their weapons short-circuited. Their vehicles powered down. Their armor overheated, forcing them to drop to their knees. Kairon wasn't burning alive. He was burning with purpose. Elena felt the warmth radiate from him. Not painful, Not destructive, but life-giving, like standing at the edge of a star that wanted only to illuminate. When the last attacker fell unconscious, Kairon collapsed to the ground. But this time, he didn't collapse alone. Elena caught him before he hit the dirt. His light dimmed back to a soft glow. "I didn't explode," he murmured faintly. "No," she whispered, brushing his hair back. "You didn't. I felt everything you said. In my blood. Like your voice wrapped itself around the symbiote." She smiled through tears. "Sounds like it finally learned some manners." He laughed weakly. "Elena, I think you saved my life." "You think correctly." His eyes fluttered shut, but peacefully this time. And Elena held him until the sun rose over Orialis IX, ending. The aftermath of the attack changed everything. The Ashen Collective withdrew after their devastating losses. The Hellion Frontier Corps attempted to relocate Kairon to a secure facility for further study, but Elena stood between him and the commanding officers with the rage of a supernova. "He's not your experiment anymore," she told them coldly. "He's a sentient being who deserves autonomy." Kairon, still healing, watched her with astonished affection as she dismantled every bureaucratic argument thrown at them. Eventually, Hellion relented, not because they agreed, but because they realized they no longer controlled the only living Lumen subject. The symbiote had bonded to Kairon in ways no one anticipated, and Elena, somehow, had become part of that bond. 3 months later, the two of them lived far from any military installation, in a research habitat overlooking the glowing blue forests of Arctura 7. Elena conducted peaceful field studies. Kairon helped, slowly learning how to control the photonic symbiote through emotion, breath, and, most effectively, Elena's presence. He no longer feared his own blood. He no longer feared himself. One evening, while the twin moons rose over the horizon, Elena found him sitting on the balcony railing, legs dangling over the edge, skin glowing faintly in the silver light. "Thinking deep thoughts?" she asked, taking a seat beside him. "Mostly about how you ruined my ability to brood alone." She nudged his shoulder. "You're welcome." Kairon turned to look at her, expression soft. "Elena, do you ever regret it?" "What?" "Saving me. Loving me. Binding yourself to someone who might always be a little dangerous." She intertwined her fingers with his. The glow under his skin brightened at her touch. "I didn't save you," she said. "I just reminded you what you were fighting for." "And loving you," he pressed. "Any regrets there?" She leaned forward and kissed the corner of his mouth. "None." He exhaled, relief and wonder mingling in his voice. "Good. Because loving you, it steadies the light. Makes it warm instead of wild. That's how love works, Kairon." He thought for a moment, then chuckled. "Then I suppose my blood was always light." "And," she teased. He turned fully toward her, the golden radiance in his eyes glowing like a rising star. "And your love," he whispered, "makes it burn brighter." She kissed him again, softly, deeply, as 2 moons shone above them and his luminous blood pulsed warmly beneath her fingertips. Not dangerous, not destructive, just radiant. And together, they were brighter still.